Hi guys, I wanted to discuss here in a bit more detail the impact of COVID-19 on education and how it has resulted in the rapid transition to digital modes of education delivery. The COVID-19 emergency has fundamentally changed the way we all live and work, and this has had an enormous impact on the teaching and learning experience too. Faced with COVID-19 disruption, digital transformation in the education industry has found a whole new momentum in the last 3 years and really started to blur traditional lines of education and learning delivery. As Dr. Ginty, Head of Learning and Teaching at GMIT in Ireland, observed, COVID transitioned our learning, teaching and assessment activities to a new platform. End quote. With the spread of the virus, of course, a series of lockdowns left millions of students stranded, and these lockdowns meant millions of students were at risk of very real study loss. In the face of COVID-19, more and more academic institutions therefore had to foster a culture of digital learning, and especially higher level institutions. Prior to COVID-19, it would be fair to say that the education industry had a predisposition towards traditional in-classroom approaches. Pre-2020, fully digitised teaching programmes with educational technology embedded across the curriculum were quite rare, and only a few places had really established fully digital modes of teaching and e-learning. But because of COVID-19, educational institutions had to make e-learning more accessible than ever. Online classes have, of course, become the most practical solution to ensure education continued through COVID crisis. Many schools and colleges began to use video broadcasting tools such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, etc. to provide learning at home. Institutions also increased the use of real-time messaging and social media channels such as WhatsApp, Facebook and YouTube. And of course, this even continues now post-COVID-19. What we have seen in the last 3 years is a real lean into the learning any time, anywhere culture, which was largely evasive in many aspects prior to COVID-19. In Victor J's publication, he says that, quote, crisis requires society to renew itself, albeit in a disruptive way, end quote. And this is so very true of what happened within the education industry as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. As a direct consequence then of the social distancing realities imposed by COVID, the transition to online learning happened in a very short period of time. And because of how quickly it happened, it caused challenges for students, of course, who needed technical assistance in many instances, but also for staff, who, as Victor J in his publication rightly describes, had to, quote, reinvent themselves in a record time to keep campus operations running, end quote. Teaching staff had to adapt quickly to new online techniques with little or no training in some cases, and not all teaching staff, just like students, were comfortable in an online setting, and a generational divide often separated those who were relying more so on classical methods of teaching from a younger faculty who maybe were more adept with newer technologies and digital applications. In a publication by Homoki and Nyitrai, research was conducted to examine the level of digital competence of teachers in Hungary before the COVID-19 pandemic and during the COVID-19 second wave. And the data showed that the pandemic, of course, revealed serious shortcomings in the level of development of the digital competence of both teachers and students. However, it also opened the way for a catching up on both sides. The research showed teachers were already better prepared during the second wave, highlighting the success of these digital applications through COVID. I want to conclude by quoting Shakespeare. We know what we are, but we know not what we may be. As COVID-19 reminds us, we don't know what the future holds, but if, as applied to digital media and education, we can try to shape our interactions with digital media to be more positive, creative and rewarding, whilst maintaining a human hand in these interactions, the potential is really infinite. Education by its nature exposes us to what the world has to offer, and this now, thanks in part to COVID-19, involves mass digital media exposure. That's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching.